had some really interesting conversations online and in person. I think my position is quite unusual in that there aren't many people doing either saddle fitting or maybe training or, I don't know, a trimmer, who are actively recommending groundwork but are not really in a position to be able to give specific exercises themselves for whatever reason. And actually are signposting to all sorts of different services within the equine industry. So I very much need to do that. I think there are an awful lot of customers who are flailing out there with inadequate hoof care, inadequate training. You know, there are a handful of brilliant people all over the country. None of them are going to match with any other one person's particular philosophy. But if we're on the same page, if we're 75% on the same page, then that's somebody I can certainly get on board with, recommend them, and help my customers to be able to put their horse at the centre of everything. And the reason I do it is that horse saddle rider thing that you'll see in a lot of my posts, and you'll see in a lot of my content, my blog posts, all of that, and the way I work with customers, the way I talk on my website. Anyway, so yeah, we need to find people to work either directly with or to be able to recommend, and the growth of the internet has been amazing in that. But I want to talk about one thing, which is the right to change our mind. Now, we can only judge as we see fit. And when somebody comes along who has work that looks really interesting, and you either follow them or you perhaps even buy their program, which, as I don't have my own horses, I have bought some programs purely to learn about them for the sake of my customers. But you have only a certain amount of time where you're able to get really stuck into the work and really get to the point where you feel it's well proven enough to recommend it on to people. So I take my time, I watch what they're posting. Within a few weeks or a few months, I generally have decided whether it's something I can get behind and I can recommend to my customers. And I'll often chat to the person who's developed the course, or, you know, if it's a hoof professional, I might talk to them. A body worker, I might talk to them, somebody who I'm recommending for hands-on work. But if you get to 6 months later and you get new information, you get bad customer feedback, or perhaps you've seen a bit of bad customer feedback previously, because none of us are free of that. We all have customers who think that we did a really shit job, and they're happy to tell the world about it quite vociferously. So I have to judge in context of the real world, the horsey world, and we all know it can get called bitchy, it can get called whatever. It's certainly tricky when it costs us a lot of money, which means we invest a lot of emotion behind that money. So we have a vested interest in protecting our past decisions because they cost us a lot. So getting people to change their minds is actually quite difficult, or get them to be open-minded enough to see what you see in something. So I see battles between people online where somebody's tried a product, they think it's okay, but it's not worked for them. They've tried a service, they've tried some training, they've bought an online course, and they thought it had some merit, but there's some other stuff that's problematic for them, or they've decided that part of that course doesn't have merit. Now, depending on where those reviews are coming from, I may place more or less importance on them. You know, I'd weight them very highly if they come from somebody who I've watched, I trust, who impresses me over a period of time. So I see posts getting really snippy about people that I've recommended in the past who were starting to get negative feedback, and I watched the negative feedback and I weighed it up against the quality of the work, and I still defend, in one particular instance, 2/3 of the work. The last third I don't. I've got plenty of evidence now to believe that it's not great, or not as good as it purports to be. And I now also have information about personal attacks coming from that person, and I've had a little bit of that myself from that person, so it completely vindicates my decision. But there are other people out there doing really interesting work, and things are only proven once they come into the mainstream. People working on the cutting edge, the leading edge of what we're trying to do with horses, if they're clearly putting the horse at the centre of things, then again, I'll give them the same amount of credit to begin with. I will watch what they do with interest. And negative stories, again, I will take with a pinch of salt. But that wanting to work with the horse at the centre of things, wanting to find things out, wanting to push the envelope, wanting to find new and better ways. I mean, we look back at the horrors of Strasser in hoof trimming, but I don't think hoof trimming would be where it is now without Strasser having done what she did. I'm not remotely saying anybody should have used her techniques, but it was an essential part of that growth. I think. I'm not an expert in it, but that's my guess, is that these mavericks who sometimes make really big mistakes are out there pushing the envelope, and they are coming up with information that enables the more research-minded to go out and to develop their the theorem. Oh God, the word escapes me, but they come up with the theorem on which they're going to base their research. Is it true or is it not? And without that fluffy, alternative, kind of work going on, then I don't believe that the research coming along afterwards can really do such a good job. And there's a particularly heated discussion about somebody who does dissections, and many of you may be aware of perhaps who I might be talking about. And yeah, there are some problematic reports about sort of personal behaviour and so on, but there's an awful lot of attacking just for the sake of attacking, instead of saying, should this area be regulated? Should you have to be qualified? The discussions we have round and round, and obviously as a non-qualified saddle fitter I have a particular take on all of this. I think it all has to be taken in context. And we end up going round and round about people who will defend gurus till the ends of the earth, and I hope I've never defended somebody to the ends of the earth. And I also agree that there are some gurus who come along who are problematic. I see suave individuals, lots of marketing, using I won't get into details or give away who I'm talking about, but I see people out there with work that defies the laws of gravity, that goes against the fundamental laws of physics of what they're recommending to do with horses. They do have some success in rehabbing horses, but I can see that they're hitting blocks. Anyway, there are many roads to Rome, but essentially I do see ones that are problematic. There are lots of people following them, but I'm not going to have a go at them for promoting that work, because it looks like there's lots of science behind it and it's fantastic. So anyway, it's to come back to, we all deserve the right to change our minds. We can only recommend what we see as being good at the time, and our knowledge in the industry changes over time. But it only changes because of those mavericks. I genuinely believe that, and the more we try and completely shut them down and not give them any space to operate in, I think the horse world will be much sadder for it. And I think when you see criticism of a professional, go and really read behind it and talk to people that are working with them, that are getting some benefit from it, but realise when perhaps they are flying monkeys being sent out to attack you. When the flying monkeys are going out onto threads to parrot the same old thing. It's the same old people going, no, this person's fantastic. It's all we can do online. I suppose it gets on to we should be teaching kids a bit like they do in Scandinavia to understand online safety and then the quality of information that we read. I'm bearing that in mind all the time. I really am. But when you're needing to signpost people on and refer them on, you're doing your very best to select what's best out there at the time. And I will continue to do so, because I know what benefit it brings my customers. I don't know whether that was useful, a bit of philosophy again about the equestrian world, equine professionals, and the various ways we try and make things better for a horse. I hope it's been helpful. Just my thoughts on a thorny subject.